Hi, this is Roger, thanks for dropping by. This is a short video and it's not orchids, even though I'm starting here. I'm starting here because it's a nice view. Today I went over to see my mate from school days that long ago. That's a long time ago. We had a few coffees, we had a chat, we had a look around his garden. He's not interested in his garden, but I was. Some lovely plants, some lovely tubs, and yeah. But basically the intention of going over there was to go to the music shop. Now it's a place I've never been to, whereas he goes regular and knows one of the main guys there well enough to get quite large discounts. And he was explaining that he's been through everything. He reckons he had about 30 or 40 individual amplifiers to try and get the sound he wants, and several guitars at the same time. He has a unit that basically is like a sound box, produces lots of different sounds and tones and all things like that he can plug a guitar into and then into an amp to get sound. And he struggled, but he said that the place that we were going to was very helpful, and in some cases lent him kit to see if it would work. And he's ended up settling on an amp that he's happy with, on the grounds that he thought the need to get the sound he wanted became an obsession, when in fact he'd had it all along. Yeah, we get like that sometimes. Anyway, we went along and we parked up and we went in, and basically his friend came along and he introduced me as a proper musician. He said, "Oh, this is my mate from school days and he's a proper musician." We didn't try anything out, don't get me wrong, we didn't go and plug anything in, but I was very interested in seeing rank upon rank upon rank of guitars, anything from bottom end to top end. The one in the glass case caught my eye. It was an old Gibson acoustic, pre-owned, so it wasn't even new, obviously very old. It was £11,999 for an acoustic guitar. Yeah, in your dreams. I bet there was one on the rack for 300 quid which sounded better. This is the problem that with guitars and various other musical instruments, the status can override the actual playability and sound that you get from the instrument. And sometimes the name is a lot of that. And the name says this is worth lots and lots of money, when in fact it's actually not as nice a tone as something half the price. But you have to play with this, you have to go and find out. Anyway, we had a look round. I touched the keyboard. Luckily it wasn't switched on. We went into the drum room and had a look at the drum kits, but they weren't set up to play. They were set up in such a way that the drum stall was at the back and you couldn't get at it because the drums were in the way. So that didn't appeal to me very much. We went into the studio where you could, where sound systems were actually on show. Loads and loads of different speakers and systems which you could say, I want to hear those speakers through that system, and they'd plug a few things in and press a few switches, and that's what you'd hear. So it was a nice visit. I enjoyed it a lot. And part of the conversation was the fact that I've sort of got a mini home recording studio that's never really been used, and that's what this video is all about. You all saw me when I got my Strat, the sort of special edition copy of not Roger Waters, the other guy from Pink Floyd, basically his black Strat, and it was a special edition version of that I bought as a treat when I'd finished all the paperwork and all the legalities of sorting out my mum's estate, and I treated myself to that. I made a video. If I can find it, I'll link it to this one. So it'll be, you know, a sort of end screen that you can go and watch. And I bought that guitar as a present, and it's hardly ever been played. But people still refer to it. My viewers still say, when are we going to hear you play that guitar? And I was talking to the guy in the music shop, my mate's friend, who he knows very well. And I said, I'm not much good at the moment because I've got wussy fingers. Now, I've explained that before. If you don't play guitar regularly, your finger pads get soft. And then when you try and play, they hurt. And they can even get to the point where they bleed if you push your luck. So you have to develop hard pads to your fingers so that your fingers playing on the strings don't hurt anymore. To do that, you need to play a little bit on a very, very regular basis. To be able to use my music studio and do a bit of composing and perhaps put something forward to YouTube, which I'm sure some people would appreciate, not everybody, because it's not Orchids. That's what this video is all about. So we come back in here and we get to there. That is my black Strat. That is a copy of the one that that name will not come. It's driving me up the flipping wall. I shall have to look it up. But the guy from Pink Floyd, the lead guitarist, that's a copy of one of the guitars he uses. And it was a special edition. It's got different pickups to a normal version of that Strat. And it's a very nice guitar. I picked up a guitar today and the guy said, feel the weight of that. And it was so light. I said, how the hell have they done that? Because it looked quite thick, you know, the body. And he said, it's ash and it's hollowed. And it's probably half the weight of this one. Because when I first got this and I put it on, I put the strap over my shoulder, I thought, you know, in the days when I used to play in a band, there's no way I could stand with that over my shoulder for 2 hours playing a gig. Anyway, why is it here down on the settee? It's down here because I am determined that for 10 minutes in the morning and 10 minutes in the afternoon I will play this guitar. And in a month or so's time, my fingers should have hardened up enough to be able to get up in the music room and actually do something sensible. Now, I don't need to harden my fingers up to play my bass guitar because the strings are so much thicker. But obviously the strings on a 6-string, especially the top two, are very thin and they can cut in. It can become quite painful. And for those of you who've never played a guitar, you wouldn't understand. So basically, I'm going to do some work. A lot of days I've got not much to do. So this is not eating into my normal time. So we're going to give it a go. We're going to try and get hardened fingers so that I can actually play some guitar. And in doing so, in that process, I will also be relearning what I once knew. So maybe down the line we may get up in the music studio and start some composing and actually putting some multi-track units together. So that's what this is about. This day, and going to the music shop and chatting to my mate, a band I was in before I went to college, he was the roadie. So he used to help out. He never used to do much work. Basically, he came along so that he could do all the dancing and pull in the girls while we were working. But we had a good laugh, we had a chat, and we had a nice time at the music shop looking at lots of instruments. I went and had a look at the more orchestral music room, shall we say, and had a look at the saxophones. I'd love a tenor sax. I used to play clarinet once, I used to play flute, and they were all laid out in there, and I looked at the prices and I thought, I shouldn't be in here, I should be somewhere else. Anyway, that is my Strat. It was a treat for doing a lot of work that I'd done, and it hardly ever gets played, and that needs to change. That's why it's down here. Now it's leaning on the settee so that I don't put a strain on the neck, because the neck is actually not touching. Yeah, it's not touching the wall or anything like that. It's just leaning. So it saves me bringing the guitar stand down. But yeah, I can keep it down here and have a play on it a couple of times a day. And those units of time will slowly but surely get longer. And my memory of the things I used to play, the chord sequences and stuff, will gradually come back until eventually we can actually do something useful. So there we go. That's what this is all about. Many people have said, when are you going to play that flipping guitar you bought ages ago? Coming soon. Coming soon.